Hi everyone, my name is Peter, and once again I'd like to welcome you back to my workshop. In this video we're going to continue looking at the UCDECK, and I'm going to explain two features or functions that I absolutely love, and I think once you get your hands on a UCDECK you're going to fall in love with them as well. For this example I'm going to assume the following: that we have a toolpath strategy in Fusion 360 where the feed rate for that toolpath strategy is at 1000 millimeters per minute, to make it easy, and that we have a spindle speed of 12,000 RPMs. Now, this is one of those features that is so much easier to understand when you just use it, because it's extremely simple, but it's kind of difficult for me to explain, so I'm going to do my best. So let's assume you've turned your dial and you've override your feed rate. Let's say you're at 5000 millimeters per minute. And now suddenly the machine is moving to a position where you want to slow it down, but you don't want to stop it. So you have options. One is this button is your feed hold. As we said, you don't want to stop it, it has to continue. Cycle stop is obviously no good. All you have to do is you have to hit the feed rate dial. What that does is it slows it down to 10% of the initial feed rate from our toolpath strategy, which is 1000 millimeters per minute. So it's going to reduce that to 100 millimeters per minute without actually stopping. So it's going to continue moving, but it's just going to slow down completely. This, when the machine starts to do something weird, or it goes on to, when you do a profile cut and you want to slow down completely quickly, you can go like this if you want, because it reduces by 10% every click. The easiest, and I use this really all the time, is just a hit and then I'll start to dial it up again. Then, if we go over to the spindle speed, once again, let's say we are at 24,000 RPM, and we want to turn the spindle down quickly. What we do is, once again, we just hit the button on the spindle speed, but in this case it slows it down to 100%, because this is not as critical as a feed rate. Things can go wrong very quickly here, but the spindle normally gives you leeway. You either want to stop the spindle completely, or you just want to increase or decrease the spindle speed. So this is going to reduce from 24,000 RPM all the way to the set toolpath strategy of 12,000 RPM. Now, the feed rate, when you turn the dial, every click of the dial, it increases by 10%. That is because you're much more likely to want to turn the feed rate down quickly than you'd like to do with the spindle speed. If you hold in the shift button and you turn the dial on a feed rate, that changes the factor to ×1. So every click is 1%, 1%, 1%. So it's a slow way of really dialing in your feed rate if you really want to. Once you drop or you take your hand off the shift button, it's going to go back to 10% increments. And the same for the spindle speed. The spindle speed is a little bit different. When you turn the dial, it will go 1% normally. And when you hold your finger on the shift and you turn this increases to 10% changes. I can't tell you how handy these two buttons are. I use them all the time. This have saved me, the feed rate especially have saved me so many jobs, so many tools, so much stock and components. It's unreal. And we have it so that you have the feed rate here and you have the feed hold. So those two work in conjunction. Not in conjunction, but you know what I mean. They're very close to each other. So you can turn the dial, you can turn your feed rate down, and then you can do a feed hold if you want, if you just don't want to do a complete reduction of your feed rate. Now those two features, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. And next time we'll chat about something else. Once again, thank you so very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.